Well, the main gist of that problem, which is so prevalent in the influencer marketing community, is that people are not getting paid for the usage rights that they are giving away.
Hi, I'm Tori Mystic, and you're listening to the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast, the only show dedicated to supporting women in all areas of the pet industry. On this episode of the Wear, Wag, Repeat podcast, we are digging into the first quarter theme of making more money in your pet business. To get us started in this theme, I'm excited to share a conversation with Kara Conway Love. Kara brings to the table her wide-ranging expertise in the legal world, content creation, and entrepreneurship. As we explore topics like maximizing earnings, negotiating partnerships as pet influencers or content creators, and avoiding legal pitfalls, Kara's expertise shines through. You will find that our conversation offers helpful perspectives for creators and entrepreneurs. One important area that we touch on is usage rights. This is something that I think affects all of us in today's multimedia climate, and it is a common clause on almost every contract that you negotiate. Kara shares some great insights on how to negotiate your usage rights to maximize the profitability of your partnerships. She has some really great tips on that. Lastly, Kara provides expert guidance on how to protect your finances as a business owner and whether or not you should consider forming an LLC to do so. There is a lot of actionable advice and valuable takeaways in this episode. If you want to go deeper and hear the action steps that I would recommend taking after talking with Kara, please check out the bonus solo episode that will be released on the Wear, Wag, Repeat Society secret podcast. That's right. I have a secret podcast that is only available as an exclusive bonus to Wear, Wag, Repeat Society members. You can join us today at wearwagrepeat.com/society. In addition to the secret podcast, you will also gain access to our monthly lessons. Our Q1 theme is money, baby. That's right. We want to make lots of money in our pet businesses, right? So in Q1, we are focusing on profitability, some accounting tips with a profit first certified accountant, plus how to leverage your money to make more of an impact for animal nonprofits, which I know is a cause that is close to many of our hearts. We'll be exploring all of those topics, plus working in our own mastermind groups every single month. So I hope that you will consider joining us. Again, it is wearwagrepeat.com/society. Okay, now let's get on to my interview with Kara. Kara Conway Love is the go-to expert at the constantly changing intersection of legal, business, and social media for creators and entrepreneurs. She empowers creators, influencers, and entrepreneurs by providing savvy advice to protect and grow their brands. With over 30 years of experience as a business lawyer, Kara has combined her legal expertise with her experience as a creator, author, public speaker, and a former college business professor to guide others along their journey. In 2022, Kara founded the Business Network Hub membership to help women successfully navigate legal, business, and social media challenges to grow their brands. She also offers legal contract templates, one-on-one coaching, and online courses to help creators and brands make more money. You also might remember Kara from Dog Like Me, an initiative that she launched in 2018 to build a community of dog influencers around the world. On top of all of this, she manages her dog's lifestyle account at Walter Duffy Dog, where she documents their visits to local hospitals and schools to spread Walter's magic as a certified therapy dog team. Hi, Kara. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Tori. That's a lot of information about me.
You're
you,
very
you,
busy.
I think I'm very busy just listening to how busy I am.
Well, I'm really excited to have you here and to bring all of your expertise. I have been following you since the Dog Like Me account started, and I know you as, sharing a lot of stuff about influencers and really this community over competition supporting each other, which I love. And I didn't realize for a long time that you're also a lawyer and have so many years of experience on that side of things.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I started the separate sort of professional personal brand because um I'm sure you can understand, like, you can only say, "Oh, your dog is so cute," so many times, and I and with Dog Like Me and Walter's account, I've met so many amazing people like you, and I love the community aspect of it. But part of me felt like I was wasting all of my legal experience because I've been working with small business, big business, and entrepreneurs for over 30 years. So I wanted to find a way to combine all that and use my social media experience to help other people, mostly women, in business or influencers who have so much potential but might not necessarily understand the legal landscape of things. So that's what I really love doing, and I've kind of found this niche where I have the social media background and I can use my legal experience. So I'm really excited to be where I am right now.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful way to combine your passions and your experiences and skills. And you touch on something too, where it's like, you know, our accounts like aren't or they're more than just saying like, "Oh, what a cute dog." We're not just like cute dog
Yeah.
accounts anymore.
Yeah.
What's kind of happened, whether it's by accident or on purpose, is so many influencers and content creators have become entrepreneurs and business owners.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they sort of fell into it. So there's all
Yeah.
this legal stuff that they were not prepared or didn't realize that it was
Yeah.
going to involve, right?
Absolutely. I think that people have gained success in sort of like when reels were ramping up and everybody was hitting, these huge numbers on their reels with great reach. And then all of a sudden they were getting brand deal opportunities or other, making business opportunities for themselves. And they don't know what to do with it because they don't even have a business background at all. So I really think that there's still so much need for that, even with small creators who haven't had, viral success and that kind of thing, because as you know, brands are interested in working with small creators as well. So there is a place for everybody in this monetization opportunity that is just sitting there. And even though there's, tons of dogs and tons of other creators, there still is room because people are still making money doing it.
Well, and that's exactly what we're here to talk about today is making money.
Yeah.
Bringing home the bacon.
So, right. Yeah. There's ways to do it and there's ways not to do it. And there's ways to get in trouble doing it and, ways to make it better and more profitable. So I'm excited to talk about all that.
Great. So I think that maybe a good kind of starting jumping off point is how are content creators often leaving money on the table with their contracts? Maybe they've had some contracts, or maybe they're about to get their first one, or maybe they've even been doing this for years and just kind of blindly signing things. How are
Mm-hmm.
people, leaving a lot of money on the table in those situations?
Well, the main gist of that problem, which is so prevalent in the influencer marketing community, is that people are not getting paid for the usage rights that they are giving away. And let me just take a step back and quickly explain the difference between usage rights and ownership rights. So, whenever we create something, whether it's a post or something we write or whatever, we own the copyright. We have ownership of that, even if we don't file a copyright. So, that's called intellectual property, and you own everything you create. If you sell that right outright to a brand, let's say, that's transferring your intellectual property rights. But if you keep the ownership of your rights in that content, whether it's a video or an audio or a photograph, you have the ability to license out those usage rights. In other words, to give a brand the right to use your content for their purposes. And what usage rights are specifying how, when, and where a brand can use your content. And for how long, what formats they can put it in, and I want to talk a little bit about paid advertising versus organic, and basically, when do those rights expire, if at all? Because a lot of times they don't.
Yeah, that's something I see all the time and I think a lot of people who are just getting started don't even know this term, but signing away your rights in perpetuity
Yeah.
is the biggest red flag. And
Perpetuity is a dirty word. Yeah, we don't like that.
no, I wish I could just do like a word search for that and just delete all of those offers, or renegotiate
Right
them.
up there with irrevocable. Perpetuity and irrevocable are both dirty words. We don't
Right,
like those.
because theoretically, if I sign away the rights to some photos I create for a brand in perpetuity across all mediums and platforms and usages,
Hmm.
that means that long after I die, they could be using my pictures to advertise their products.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
that makes me very uncomfortable.
And you don't get paid for it because you gave it away, and you can't that so a typical really really broad usage rights clause will say something like non-exclusive, and that's a good word. We like non-exclusive because what that means is that you can still use the content yourself and you can still license it to others. But then it goes these really broad clauses go on to say irrevocable, perpetual, royalty free, fully paid up worldwide license to distribute, display, blah blah blah, and change. And so basically to use on any sort of channel that we now use and others in the future. So someday when there's another medium to use for publication, that you're giving away those rights as well. So those are really really broad usage rights. And what creators do understand, I think, is when something has gone wrong. So when their content shows up somewhere that they didn't expect, or that they didn't get paid for. Like an example, I have a colleague who did a hotel deal. So in exchange for a couple nights stay in a large, national hotel chain, she was to receive, these do a reel and then a couple of stories or something on Instagram. And she did whatever that she was supposed to do. She had her hotel stay. She provided the brand with a copy of the video and copy of the photos. And then she saw a couple weeks later that the brand had run a paid ad, a sponsored post, used not a sponsored post for her post, but an actual separate paid ad using her video. She had no idea that she gave up this right. She went back to the brand and said, "Hey, you didn't pay me for this, and I want to get paid." And the brand said, "Sorry, we did acquire this right. Here's the language in your agreement, and you're done." Like there was no recourse. Certainly the influencer wasn't going to go and sue the brand because she had given up that right unknowingly,
Yeah,
and that
and you bring
happens
up
all the time.
right, you bring up a great point too that oftentimes we're as content creators, we are making deals with big companies that have lawyers and legal teams, and
Hmm.
we're just us. We're the
Yeah,
face in front of the camera, we're the person behind the camera, we're the legal team, we're
yeah,
the marketing team, we're doing
yeah.
everything.
We're it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so how it's really like David and Goliath here. And so what can we do on our side to negotiate a little bit? Like, can we ask for the usage rights to be different, or what are some other areas where we can negotiate to make these contracts more profitable for us?
Well, yeah, there's so much opportunity. This is one of the reasons why I decided to write a book about it, which is coming out sometime in January, is because I wanted to empower creators to understand these terms better, the legal terminology. I wanted them to understand negotiating skills better and not feel that David and Goliath that you referenced, which is completely the way most brand deals are. And you're right. I mean, influencers, creators don't have a legal background. They're not going to hire a lawyer to look at every influencer platform that they're on or every influencer agreement that they get. So that, a lot of people think that what they're giving the brand is organic use. And organic use really truly just means, in its purest form, it means not getting, the brand gets your content. Maybe you posted something organically and you tag the brand and they share it without paying you. That's what organic use really means. But most creators and brands refer to organic use as when you think the brand is just going to use your content on their social media, meaning they're going to repost your, you do a reel, they share it, and even if they tag you. So that's what most people think. But when they're using paid, when they're giving away paid rights or selling paid social media advertising rights, that can be very broad things like sponsored ads and post, digital print media, traditional media like television, radio, magazines, billboards, broadcast, anything, any broadcast channels, even the side of a bus. I mean, people, I know someone who ended up on the side of a bus when they entered a contest in the pet industry and all of a sudden their dog was on a bus. That was pretty unexpected. A brand can use those paid rights in email and text marketing, product placement, or display ads in stores. So, your question, what can creators do, is when you have an influencer agreement or platform and you don't know what all that terminology means, ask the brand, where will you use my content? How will you use my content? Maybe you don't want to be on the side of a bus and you want to exclude that from the ad, or from the brand's right to use it. Maybe you want to limit those rights to be, only, not perpetual, but 90 days or 60 days or something. So really asking the brand and not being afraid to go back to them and say, what are you going to do with my content? How long are you going to use it?
Yeah, and I have pushed back on this many, many times because I think the default is to put in perpetuity under usage rights, and it must just be some boilerplate thing that all these people are using, or they just want to ask for as much as they can and see what you say back. And a lot of people don't say anything back because they don't know that they can, and so
Well, and they're
oftentimes.
afraid to be. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say oftentimes I will say, "Are you really planning on using my photos and my videos 100 years from now? If not, can we change it to 90 days or 6 months
Yeah.
or whatever?"
Yeah, that's a great point. The brand isn't planning to use your image for the next 100 years, unless you're the Gerber baby, and even that has changed. Like, there's new Gerber babies every year. I mean, there's very, very little opportunity a brand will actually want to take advantage of to use your content forever. So the perpetual really should be almost always attempt to limit that, because honestly, the brand doesn't need it, and they're not going to pay you for it. They don't want to pay you for it unless you're, a huge celebrity. That might be that's different, but for the average, creator, that's not necessary for the brand to have those rights.
Right. I want to ask you about another area of contracts for influencer agreements, which is exclusivity. And this is sort of
Hmm.
tied together, I think, too, because it can be, a time frame. So,
Yeah.
some brands want exclusivity across categories or across competing things, or they'll say you can't, do the same work for any other treat companies. What does that mean, and
Mm.
how should that be approached?
Well, that's a great question, because one of the biggest problems with exclusivity clauses is, first of all, the length of it, meaning it could be for a year, which could really, really limit a creator's opportunity to work with other brands. And that it's not clear on who the competitors are. Because let's say a brand is producing dog supplements. That's one of their products that the creator is working with them on. But they also have other products that are similar. I mean, maybe they're lotions, or maybe they're shampoos, or other care products for dogs. And they throw an exclusivity clause in there that says you can't work with any competitors, but they don't define what they mean by competitors. So what I encourage creators to do is to ask the brand, who are your competitors? Who do you consider? Tell me who your competitors. Put it in the agreement. Put it in, attach an addendum to it, just so that I know. And also to try to make sure that you don't let it go for too long. I recently had a large creator, ask me about this, and she was so thankful that she pushed back to the brand and said 30 days on an exclusivity clause, because she would have missed an opportunity which was much more profitable. A bigger brand deal came along that she would not have been able to work on if she had that exclusivity clause in place. So know who the competitors are and how long it's going to be.
Yeah, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I have some brands that um, will agree to exclusivity for the terms of the contract. But sometimes those contracts are a year, and sometimes they get renewed each year. So, I
Yeah.
have over the many years I've been doing this, have worked with some different brands that I had exclusivity with, which was fine, but they expand their product catalog all the time. So
Yeah.
then it means that, well, now all of a sudden you can't do like shampoo because they made a shampoo, or you can't,
Right.
you can't do, maybe they came out with like a treat training pouch to go with their treats or something. And so you can kind of get stuck with that too. You really do have to read the fine print all the time.
Right. Yeah, and that's such a great example because what you would want to do, and I would ask the brand to renegotiate that portion of the contract and say, of course, I'm not giving you legal advice because I can't do that. You're not my client, but for information purposes only, if it were me, I would go back to the brand and say, not only let's define who your competitors are, but let's define the product because you and I have a deal about treats. We don't have a deal about shampoo and treat pouches and chewy sticks and whatever, all these other things. So we're just talking little tiny treats, like really get granular and really define that product that you are working with them on.
Right. Is it baked treats? Is it freeze dried raw treats? Is it soft chew
Right.
treats? What is it?
Right. Right. And
Hmm.
and get them to and if they want the exclusivity clause to be very broad, that's fine. And I always say to people, don't be afraid of exclusivity clause, just get paid for it. So if they want to say, no, Tori, we love working with you and Lucy and Bert so much that we're willing to pay you another X dollars per month over our contract term because we know that you're worth it and your content is so good and all that.
Yes, it's all about negotiation. It doesn't have to be when you
Yeah.
see these scary terms, it's not like, well, I'm not doing this, cancel it, throw it out
Right.
the door. It's just about kind of coming to a compromise.
Yes, that is the essence of negotiation is both sides are giving up something. So you might be giving up some of the time period. You might be extending the exclusivity clause a little longer or extending usage rights a little more, but you're getting paid more for it. So the brand is giving you more money, you're giving up some rights, and that's the essence of negotiation. It's no, nobody wins 100%. It's not a negotiation if you win it all. That's
Right.
a bulldoze.
um, okay, so I want to keep talking about how to make more money. So
Yeah.
another thing, and I guess this could make you more money or just kind of give you better control of your money is payment terms in your contracts. So it's very common to do all the work up front, submit your work, and then not get paid for 90 days. Is
Mhm.
there a better way?
Well, yeah, that's the type of thing that you want. It's a type of clause you want to look at in both on an influencer platform or with specific influencer agreements or brand deal contracts, whatever they're called. It's kind of all the same thing. Is that you want to know exactly what those payment terms are, and that's absolutely something you can push back on. You can ask for a shorter window. Some brands will say no, and then you have to weigh whether or not it's worth it to wait 90 days to get X. Maybe they pay a little more because you have to wait for it or you ask for 50% of the payment up front so that you're not doing all the work. Perhaps you're buying certain props or you're going to a certain location to film, whatever. That might, that's costing you more than just your time. It's costing you actually out of pocket. So ask for those up front.
Yeah, that's great advice. Now, I'm sorry to pack a lot into this interview, but I want to share all of your expertise as much as we can because I know there's so many questions out there. So jumping around a little bit away from contracts and talking a little bit more about business structures. At what point does an influencer or a creator need to think about forming an LLC, or do they even need to ever think about that? What are some of those things that we might have to think about as we grow?
Well, it's never too early to try to protect your personal assets. And what I mean by that is having a limited liability company or a corporation in place to protect your personal assets is always a good idea as far as I am concerned as a lawyer. And what limited liability means is let's say you default on the contract or you violate the FTC guidelines and the brand gets sued and they turn around and sue you or bring you into that lawsuit as what we call third party, and then you get blamed for what went wrong. So if that contract is in your personal name, then you are at risk. Your bank account's at risk. Your home is at risk. Any assets that you own personally are at risk. Whereas if the contract was in the name of the LLC, and this is not just for influencers, this is for any business owner. If you have a contract in the name of your LLC, then and there's a dispute about the contract, then you're only risking what is inside the LLC. So the LLC's assets. That's typically just the LLC's bank account. Or if you're a mom and pop business or a retail store, you might own the building. So there's some risk, and that's why people will have more than one LLC with their real estate in one LLC and their operating company in the other one. But just for simplicity purposes, for creators, having an LLC in place, it cannot hurt. It is always a way to protect you. And you want to make sure that the contracts that you enter into with brands are in the name of your LLC and not in your personal name.
And how about if you have like a business license? Like my business is registered with the state. So using my business name on contracts, does that give me any protection?
Well, just using the business name, if it's a registered entity, meaning like like an LLC or something, so having that name on the contract, yes, that LLC is then the party to the contract, and not Tory Mystic personally, but Tory Mystic LLC or whatever your LLC is. So
Wear, wag,
where
repeat,
wag
or
repeat,
whatever.
yeah, yeah. So that
Hmm.
LLC is the party to the contract. So if there's a lawsuit, where wag repeat LLC is going to get sued, not Tory Mystic.
Okay, so
Now
this is
there
really
are
good.
exceptions. Sorry.
I was going to say this is very good for people listening because I think this is advice that we don't often hear when it comes to influencer and the content creator industry, the
Mhm.
marketplace, if you will. We're always getting tips on like how to create better videos and better content, but all this legal stuff is what's going to help your business stick around for
Protect
a
you.
long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what you're risking if you have a limited liability structure in place is just what the business owns. So if you have, $8,000 that you just got paid on a brand deal in your bank account, but you don't have anything else, then you're good. There are exceptions to limited liability. So if you do stupid things or criminal things, I always say, stupid criminal things like you don't pay your taxes or you don't pay your employees or you commit fraud. Those things aren't covered by limited liability. So if you don't pay the taxes, the IRS is still going to come and see you or call you or send you 8,000 letters, and you're personally going to be on the hook for that. So it's not an absolute, but it's a business, protection for both creators and entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Well, Kara, is there any other advice or any other information and expertise that you'd like to share with people today about, when it comes to making more money as a creator or protecting your money as a creator?
Well, protecting it as a creator is, responsible business practices like not leaving all your money inside the LLC. So paying yourself and working with an accountant
Mm,
to make sure you're paying your income taxes. Because a lot of creators are like, oh my God, I just made $10,000 on a brand deal. And then they get a 1099, which is a tax reporting IRS form that the brand will file. That's why they want when you enter into a brand deal, if it's over a certain amount, a brand will ask you for what's called a W-9, which is an IRS form that you're signing saying, this is my tax ID number. So you're giving the brand that information and they will report the income to the IRS. So come next April, you are going to owe income tax on that. And brands, small creators or large creators, everybody needs to be really careful about that. Because some creators have made, especially back in the Reels bonus days, I know creators who made, over $50,000 from Meta, from Facebook, was then just Facebook for their Reels. And, then they get a 1099 in January saying you have to report this income, and they had hopefully set aside enough to pay the taxes on it.
yeah, that brings us to a great point, which is our February theme in Wear Wag Repeat Society. We're going to be working on profit first accounting system. That's like the
Mm,
accounting system that I use, where
yep.
you set up these different bank accounts, and every single month you put in money for taxes, for operating expenses, for profit, and for paying yourself, so that
Mm-hmm.
everything is allocated and you have that money when you need it come tax time.
Yeah. Yep. That's, and planning like that is just such a great service to your members. Like that is just a huge thing that people are not talking about. Like you don't see people talking about that on social media enough, unless you really follow a lot of, financial planners or tax people, and most influencers don't care about that. So they're
No, it's
not
not
into it.
the sexy, exciting topic to talk about,
It's
so
not
you don't
sexy.
see it.
No, no, it's not. It's not. And there's a couple of other negotiating things that I wish people would not be afraid to, especially creators who are new to working with brands, is don't be afraid to ask for more money. And don't give your rates up front, because once you give, let's say you want to charge, you hope to get between $1,500 and $3,000 on this brand deal. The minute you say $1,500 to $3,000, you will never get more than $3,000, because that was the cap, and you just boxed yourself into that. Even maybe the brand's budget for the campaign was $5,000. You just left $2,000 on the table by giving them your range before you had to.
Yes. I recently, just like quick story, and this wasn't an influencer thing, but I was contacted to do some, expert consulting, like a market research call.
Mhm.
And they'd asked me, what's your rate for a 1 hour market research call? And I said $179, because that's what I charge for one-on-one strategy calls, for a 45-minute strategy call. And he came back to me and said, well, our budget's 500, so we'll just give you 500. Which was very generous and very kind of this sweet
Yeah,
man, but that's not usually the case. People will just go with the low ball
yeah,
offer that you threw out there.
right. Absolutely. And it's hard to, just the lesson in that is it's okay to price your services differently for different purposes.
Yes, 45 minutes doesn't have to be the same price regardless of what you're doing. Even
Yes,
even if it is,
absolutely.
in my eyes, it was both kind of providing my expertise, but obviously this company had a big budget, which is different than sort of the solopreneurs that I'm helping on
Right.
coaching calls.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you really can charge a different price, and that's a great lesson to have learned. I'm glad that it worked out well for you,
Yeah,
because
me
it
too.
may, you're right, it may not have. And another thing people are afraid, or not really working towards as creators, is getting those long-term deals with, when they're making a pitch, getting to, it's great to get your foot in the door, but to get a brand deal that lasts over, like you were talking about before, that might last over 6 months or a year, that you are getting the reliable income each month. You don't have to pitch six other brands, because you already have this amount in place and you know what you're getting. And oftentimes, and I'd be interested to hear if this is your experience, once the brand gets comfortable with you as a creator, they're much less likely to worry about the quality and overseeing your content production very much.
Yes, right. Yeah, less micromanaging, and they're more likely to come back to you in the future too, when future campaigns come up.
Yeah. Yep. It's really it's a win-win for both. It saves both the brand and the creator time. It saves them both money, because they're not spending time vetting other creators. So it really is something that I think more creators should work towards, is getting longer term repeat deals.
Yeah, that's great advice. So, Kara, we're out of time for this episode, but you have a new book coming out this month, and tell us where people can go to find your website and find that book when it does come out.
Yeah, thanks. My website is karaconwaylove.com, and you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn, and whatever other socials. Same thing, karaconwaylove.com. And I will have links in my Instagram bio for the book when it comes out later in January. And I think it's really going to help a lot of creators, whether they're really experienced or not so much at all, really sort through the whole process of what their role is as a creator, how they can get paid more. So I talk a lot about negotiation strategies, and I'm breaking down a lot of this legal stuff. So, with actual, here's a clause from an influencer agreement, and here's what it means, and here's what you should ask for. So I'm trying to really demystify the process and help creators, really empower them to make more money.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to read it and share it, and everyone I know wants to make more money, so I think it's a great
Yeah, me
topic.
too. I do too, especially for people who are less experienced. So it'll be great for everyone.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Kara. Thanks for your expertise and for sharing your time with us here today.
Great. I appreciate it, Tori. Thanks for the opportunity.
Some of the best conversations happen after the episode. Send me a note on Instagram at WearWagRepeat, or find even more women petpreneurs to connect with in our private Facebook group called Wear, Wag, Repeat Labs. If you want to dig into more episodes, resources to grow your business, or find a link to something we discussed, it is all right there for you at wearwagrepeat.com. I'll see you back here next Wednesday for a fresh conversation.